It's late, the city's gone quiet in that uneasy way, where the streetlights hum a little louder than usual. Supply chains are shaky, police response times are stretched thin, and people are rethinking what prepared actually means in an urban environment. Not doomsday fantasy, just reality, creeping in around the edges. In moments like that, conversations shift away from range bragging rights and toward practicality, recoil, noise, availability, versatility, and quietly, almost awkwardly, one cartridge keeps popping up in those conversations, then disappearing just as fast. The 22 Magnum. Not flashy, not tactical core, not something gun counters push with glossy posters. Yet it sits in a strange sweet spot, more reach and punch than .22 LR, far less blast and bulk than traditional defensive calibers, and surprisingly adaptable to dense real-world environments where overkill can be a liability. It's been around for decades, hiding in plain sight, dismissed as in-between, while the spotlight stayed on bigger, louder options. But what if that in-between space is exactly where urban survival lives? What if the cartridge nobody talks about is the one that actually makes the most sense when things get unpredictable, but not apocalyptic? That's what we're breaking down. If you want clear-headed discussions about practical gear, overlooked tools, and preparedness without the hype, hit subscribe and stick around. Why some people are suddenly calling it an urban survival round. So why are people suddenly using the phrase urban survival round with a cartridge that's been around since Eisenhower was president? It didn't come out of thin air. It's the result of several quiet shifts happening at the same time, and together, they've forced people to reassess old assumptions. First, reliability. This matters more than almost anything else. For years, 22 Magnum carried the same stigma as 22 LR. Rimfire equals unreliable. And honestly, older loads earned that reputation. Inconsistent priming, spotty ignition, feeding quirks especially in handguns. But modern defensive .22 mag isn't the same animal. Loads from Hornady, Spear, and Federal are built with far tighter quality control, better primers, and bullets designed to actually perform out of realistic barrel lengths. The gap between rimfire and centerfire reliability hasn't vanished, but it has narrowed enough that people are willing to talk about it seriously. Then there's penetration versus recoil. .22 Magnum sits in a weird, uncomfortable place for caliber snobs. It penetrates far deeper than 22 LR, and in some tests, rivals or even exceeds 380 ACP while producing almost no recoil. That makes it controllable for shooters who struggle with snappy handguns, smaller framed users, older shooters, or anyone with reduced grip strength. In practical discussions, control often beats theoretical power. Noise and blast matter too, especially indoors. Out of a rifle-length barrel, 22 mag is still loud but noticeably less concussive than intermediate rifle rounds or many defensive pistols. People living in apartments notice that difference immediately. Add in higher magazine capacities, lightweight platforms, simple controls, and the fact that 22 mags sometimes stayed on shelves when 9mm disappeared, and suddenly the cartridge people ignored started looking reasonable. Not perfect, not magical, just practical in a very modern, very urban way. What 22 Magnum is actually good for. Now let's ground this discussion where opinions tend to get a lot more honest. What 22 Magnum is actually good for. This is where the cartridge earns its keep and where the hype usually falls away. For small games, 22 WMR is excellent. Rabbits, hares, squirrels, where legal, and similar animals are right in its wheelhouse. The reason is simple physics, not marketing. Compared to 22 LR, the Magnum's higher velocity delivers cleaner, more decisive results, especially as distances stretch. The flatter trajectory makes hits easier beyond typical rimfire ranges, and reduced drop and wind drift mean fewer almost shots. A lot of hunters choose .22 mag specifically when they expect shots past the comfort zone of 22 LR but don't want to step into centerfire territory. For varmint control, this is arguably where 22 Magnum shines the brightest. Ground squirrels, prairie dogs, marmots, and similar pests are exactly what this cartridge was built for. It penetrates well for its size, handles wind better than 22 LR, and maintains effectiveness at noticeably longer distances. In open terrain fields, ranch land, prairie precision matters more than raw power, and 22 mag delivers that balance. Then there's medium-small games where things get complicated. Foxes and smaller coyotes fall into a gray area. Some jurisdictions allow it, and some hunters have used it successfully, but many experienced shooters consider it marginal at best. Ethical use here depends heavily on distance, precise shot placement, and strict adherence to local regulations. Most experts agree this is the lower edge of acceptable, not an ideal role, but many experienced shooters consider it marginal at best. Ethical use here depends heavily on distance, precise shot placement, and strict adherence to local regulations. Most experts agree this is the lower edge of acceptable, not an ideal role. And let's be crystal clear here. The .22 Magnum is not a large game cartridge. It is not suitable for deer-sized animals, and it is absolutely not a stand-in for proper centerfire hunting rounds. Using the wrong tool for the job doesn't make someone resourceful. It just increases the chance of wounded animals and bad outcomes. The .22 WMR has real strengths, but pretending it's something it isn't does it, and ethical shooters no favors. Which rifles are actually practical for this? When it comes to platforms, .22 Magnum is picky but rewarding. Put it in the right host and it absolutely shines. That's why certain action types have built such strong reputations with this cartridge. Bolt-action rifles sit at the top of the food chain for .22 WMR. They extract the most velocity, deliver the best accuracy, and sidestep many rimfire reliability. Rifles like the CZ457 Varmint or American are often considered the gold standard. Exceptional barrels, refined actions, and repeatable precision. The Savage 93 series is probably the most common .22 mag bolt gun in North America for a reason. It works, it shoots well, and it's affordable. The Ruger American Rimfire Magnum brings modern ergonomics into the mix, while the Tikka T1X MTR sits firmly in the premium lane with superb triggers and consistency. Even simpler rifles like the Marlin XT22M have earned long-standing respect for reliability. Lever-action rifles are a close second and arguably the most charming pairing. .22 Magnum feeds beautifully from tubular magazines, and lever guns like the Henry H01M, Winchester 9422M, and Browning BL22 Magnum are known for smooth cycling and near bomb-proof reliability. They're fast, intuitive, and extremely forgiving with ammo. Semi-autos exist, but this is where nuance matters. The discontinued Ruger 1022 Magnum proved it could be done, while modern options like the Kel-Tec CMR30 and high-end Volquartsen rifles can perform well, but ammo choice becomes critical. Finally, budget and utility rifle soldier Marlins, Savages, and Mossbergs still circulate widely on the used market. They may not be glamorous, but they remind people why .22 Magnum earned its reputation in the first place. Dependable, practical performance when it counts. So where does .22 Magnum actually make sense? Here's the realistic take most experienced people quietly agree on. It is not a top-tier defensive round. Full stop. But it can be a pragmatic compromise. It tends to come up when recoil sensitivity is a real limitation, when ease of shooting and control matter more than raw ballistic